Complaint alleges in part that defendant Combs and another defendant committed a, quote, violation of New York City Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act by viciously and violently forcing sexual contact, oral sex, and sexual intercourse on the plaintiff.
Wherever he is, his resolve is the same. He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent, and we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer.
Some of the hardest parts of this pain are the shame and the guilt I have experienced that plays a negative part in my day-to-day ability to function properly.
And they usually do not indict someone, especially someone of this kind of public magnitude, without having all their ducks already lined up. So I imagine it is very serious here.
In the glamorous world of Hollywood, where the stage lights mesmerize people and make them forget the darkness behind, a horrifying investigation has been exposed. In September 2024, Sean Diddy Combs, a power icon of contemporary music, a mogul once revered as a modern-day Gatsby, was arrested at a luxury hotel in New York with charges that shook the entire planet: racketeering conspiracy, sex, trafficking by force, and transportation of women for prostitution. Behind the glamorous spotlight, amidst Hollywood's most extravagant parties, the spectacular white parties with thousands of stars like Beyoncé, Leonardo DiCaprio, Kim Kardashian, Jennifer Lopez, investigations revealed that behind the glossy exterior was sexual violence, psychological manipulation, drugs and power, which created an empire of crime and controlled people in silence. The victims included world-famous stars, and even minors were swallowed up in a system built on self-interest and fear. The name Sean Diddy Combs, everyone knows it. He is the founder of Bad Boy Records, one of the pioneers who turned hip-hop into a multi-million-dollar industry, an icon of success and power. The allegations against Diddy include sexual violence, coercion, and human trafficking. A secret criminal network concealed behind depraved parties, drugs, and power. The freak-offs, or also called white parties, were part of Diddy's underground activities, conducted at lavish locations that harbored cruelty. Diddy's case was exposed when one of the victims courageously spoke out, accusing him of the horrific acts they had to endure, leading to a nationwide investigation. So the question arises, Sean John Combs, also known by a series of stage names like Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy, was born on November 4th, 1969, in Harlem, New York. His life began with serious upheavals. His father, Melvin Combs, was assassinated when Diddy was only 3 years old. His mother, Janice Combs, a former model, had to raise her child alone amid hardship and loss. His father's early death and a childhood lacking protection left deep scars in his mind, causing Diddy to grow up with a strong will to rise up, but also forming complex psychological factors. From high school, Diddy already displayed organizational instincts and a talent for building relationships. He attended a Catholic school, then went to Howard University, one of America's prestigious institutions. It was here that he not only studied business, but also began connecting with important figures in the music industry, opening the path to stardom. In 1993, after working at Uptown Records, Diddy decided to break away and founded Bad Boy Entertainment. The record label quickly became one of the most powerful names in the American music industry. Within just a few years, Bad Boy had created legendary stars like the notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige, Usher, Faith Evans. Thanks to his talent for spotting people and ability to produce hit songs, Diddy not only earned millions of USD, but also laid the foundation for hip-hop's global explosion. His name appeared on charts everywhere, at lavish parties and in the public eye. Diddy was the perfect image of an entertainment mogul, rich, powerful, and stylish. Besides music, Diddy also expanded his empire into many fields, such as fashion, with the Sean John brand, De Leon liquor, restaurants, reality television. Forbes once estimated his wealth reached the $1 billion mark, making him one of the rare African-American billionaires in the entertainment industry. He organized parties described as legendary, especially the White Party, with guest lists of up to thousands of stars, including Beyoncé, Jennifer Lopez, Kim Kardashian, Leonardo DiCaprio.
The kids have like an hour left. So get extra comfortable, kids, because after that, y'all gotta go. It's a wrap for y'all, because this thing turns into something that when y'all get older, y'all don't want to come to, okay?
Everything took place in the most luxurious settings, with champagne flowing like waterfalls, vibrant music, and brilliant lights. But these very parties, later on, simultaneously concealed personal activities that had never been publicly disclosed. Throughout his career, Diddy has been associated with the image of a party king, someone who always knew how to make the night endless. However, hidden beneath the glamorous surface were persistent rumors he received. That drugs were used rampantly, guests were psychologically controlled, and private parties turned into stages for deviant sexual behaviors. Some attendees recounted, though there was no public evidence at the time, that Diddy's control over guests was absolute, from secret recordings to implicit threats if anyone dared to oppose him. These whispers were just rumors back then, but later, when lawsuits erupted, they became important puzzle pieces to understand the complete picture of Diddy's true nature. Even when standing at the peak of power, Sean Diddy Combs still revealed psychological cracks that outsiders couldn't easily recognize. On the surface, he was a symbol of success, a music billionaire, party mogul, a man appearing on magazine covers in perfect suits. But behind that facade was an unstable psychological state, deeply influenced by childhood traumas. According to some sources cited from the indictment, Diddy frequently had unprovoked fits of anger, especially when feeling he was losing control. Close friends once revealed that after personal shocks, particularly the death of his close friend, the notorious B.I.G., and the breakdown of many relationships.
He said, "Yeah, I like this cool. I don't like this light-skinned nigga over here. This little nigga over here. Fuck that."
From that point on, he became cold, easily reactive, and less stable in behavior. There were rumors that Diddy once sought psychological counseling for a short time, but quickly abandoned it when his career became busy. The lack of thorough treatment caused his tendencies toward control and manipulation to become increasingly pronounced, especially with those in more vulnerable positions.
The bad boy of entertainment is getting the key to the city from the bad boy of politics.
Diddy has long understood the value of power. He knew that in the entertainment industry, influence could turn nothing into something, and could also turn something into never happened. This very awareness made him view power as a tool to achieve goals and maintain control, not just to protect himself, but also to dominate others. Criminal analysts assess that Diddy exhibits many characteristics of a high-level manipulator. Charming on the surface, knowing how to use fame to attract victims, but always concealing motives of absolute control. The lavish parties weren't just for entertainment. They were Diddy's power stages where he observed, selected, and lured those he wanted. According to indictments cited by American media, many victims described Diddy as highly skilled at exploiting others' psychological weaknesses. Initially, there were invitations about career opportunities, promises to bring them into the spotlight, but then everything quickly turned into pressure and threats. Diddy was also said to be very calculated in maintaining victims' dependence. Forcing drug or strong alcohol use to weaken their ability to resist, using hidden cameras to record, and then turning these into tools of control. Some people even said that he viewed this as an act of displaying personal power, a way to assert his position in the system he had built. Absolute power without checks and balances, combined with pathological sexual needs and an obsession with control, transformed Diddy from a successful businessman into someone accused of heading a sophisticated sexual crime network. Criminal psychology experts emphasize that in Diddy's case, success did not heal old wounds, but only provided tools to turn those wounds into violence against others.
I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
Each freak-off was not just a party, but also a display of power, where victims were forced to play roles in a game they never wanted to participate in. The relationship between Diddy and Cassie Ventura, a promising young singer, was once a subject closely followed by the media. Cassie signed with Bad Boy Records in 2006, when Diddy had already built a massive music empire. Initially, their relationship looked like a normal love story, a passionate young girl stepping into the entertainment industry, being supported by a powerful mogul. But behind the glamour and lavish parties, serious violations were gradually revealed. In 2023, Cassie officially sued Diddy. In the lawsuit, she accused him of physical abuse, rape, human trafficking, and being forced to participate in sex parties organized by Diddy. Moreover, Cassie asserted that when she wanted to leave the relationship, Diddy threatened and attacked her, creating tremendous psychological pressure. Cassie's story attracted strong public attention because she was one of the prominent victims, living proof of Diddy's manipulative power. One of the shocking pieces of evidence presented was CCTV footage from 2016, capturing Diddy hitting, kicking and dragging Cassie in a hotel hallway. This image, when made public in the media, caused a strong wave of public reaction to the level of violence from a man holding power and fame in his hands. In court, Cassie choked up.
He wasn't just my boyfriend. He was a manipulator who controlled every step, every decision of mine. I was threatened, forced to participate in sex parties that I never wanted. Every time I wanted to leave, he would instill fear in me. I was nothing more than a toy in his hands.
The lawsuit was settled within just 24 hours with an undisclosed compensation amount. This made public opinion suspect that this was a form of buying silence, aimed at covering up Diddy's horrific criminal acts. But for Cassie, the amount of money could erase the mental and physical trauma she had to endure. Cassie's story was not just a personal accusation, but also opened the door for other victims to dare stand up, revealing the criminal network that Diddy operated. Beyond the prominent accusations from Cassie Ventura, one of Sean Diddy Combs' former assistants, and Cassie's longtime close friend, has stepped into the light, ready to testify against Diddy. This assistant, who worked with Diddy for many years, revealed part of the criminal activities he was involved in, from organizing secret sex parties to acts of coercion and mental manipulation of artists. These testimonies have further reinforced the accusations from victims, creating a tight connection between sexual abuse cases and the use of power to force famous stars to participate in depraved games. Particularly, this witness also emphasized that during the years working with Diddy, they were threatened if they tried to escape from this criminal network. They revealed the psychological attacks that Diddy carried out, as well as threats of violence, raising suspicions about those who had been his protectors throughout the years. Evidence from these witnesses not only clarifies previous accusations, but also paints a horrific picture of the power and manipulation that Diddy exercised throughout his career. Has gradually been revealed, helping justice to be served more clearly. On February 26, 2024, Rodney Lil Rod Jones, a music producer, sued Diddy for sexually assaulting him, while also forcing him to engage with prostitutes.
16 hours to 24 hours a day. Sometimes, Diddy will request certain works to be done and tell us don't go to sleep until it's done. And the truth is, we'll be up for days trying to accomplish that. I've tried.
The assault included touching, groping his body, and more disgustingly, forcing him to work in the bathroom while Diddy bathed and walked around completely naked. On March 4th, 2024, Rodney amended his lawsuit and added many more accusations related to Diddy's illegal activities. Rodney said Diddy enticed him by saying that if he had homosexual relations with another male producer, he would give him a Grammy Award. After the Cassie Ventura incident became the center of attention, many other victims, especially famous artists, began to come forward to accuse Diddy. One of the most shocking names is Karrueche Tran, an actress and model who has collaborated with many major stars. Karrueche alleged that during a party at Diddy's private mansion, she was forced to participate in sexual games, had to drink strong alcohol, and use drugs while facing direct physical threats if she refused. She described the party atmosphere as an environment full of violence and manipulative behavior where power was used to control and destroy people. In Karrueche's eyes, Diddy appeared with a cold attitude, ready to oppress through power, causing negative psychological impact on those who witnessed it. During the same period, Danity Kane, a famous girl group that was once signed to Bad Boy Records, also came forward with their own accusations. A group member revealed that parties organized by Diddy were not only filled with drugs and strong alcohol, but were also a series of sexual coercion and orchestration, where young artists were psychologically and physically manipulated. The allegations indicated that Diddy used his power and fame to force artists to comply with perverted demands, from filming private videos to participating in acts of sexual violence. Diddy always displayed power, confidence, and indifference in front of crowds, proving that he treated victim manipulation like a power game. Not stopping there, domestic model and singer Chrissy Rock accused Diddy of forcing her to participate in sex parties with many other powerful figures, while threatening to reveal private photos if she refused. Chrissy stated that she and other artists were regularly monitored by secret cameras, and these recordings were later used as tools of control, making them afraid to resist.
Party I went to, Diddy party, we went to the little private area behind the, cause he had a house behind his house. Like he had a backyard with his backyard with a fat bed, and then it had like a miniature or whatever.
Diddy displayed an actively threatening attitude, psychological control, creating persistent fear that made victims almost unable to fight back. Another shocking accusation came from Danielle Harrington, a famous supermodel who has appeared in prestigious magazines. Danielle recounted that during parties at mansions in Los Angeles and Miami, Diddy often organized perverted games, forcing her to take sedatives or drugs and compelling her to participate in group sexual acts. She emphasized that
it wasn't just physical violence, but continuous psychological pressure that made us fearful and completely controlled.
He seemed to be satisfied with power, treating this behavior as entertainment, not caring about consequences, not thinking about the pain victims had to endure. Several other witnesses, including singer Tinashe and actress Keke Palmer, also confirmed being brought to parties with Diddy, where they witnessed or were forced to participate in inappropriate acts, combined with being coerced to use drugs and narcotics. Although they did not publicly reveal full details, these testimonies paint a clear picture: an organized system of law-breaking targeting young female artists, using power, money, and fame to manipulate, sexually abuse, and commit psychological violence. And notably, Diddy showed no remorse, continuing similar activities with other victims. Since March 2024, after news of the raids on Diddy's homes broke, many suspicious clips about Diddy were dug up on social media, with the most prominent being videos related to Justin Bieber. First was the famous 48 Hours with Diddy video, where 15-year-old Justin was clearly very excited and innocent about hanging out with the rap mogul, actively chatting and interacting happily. But in the second video about a year later, when Diddy visited Justin at the studio, Justin's reaction was much more hesitant and seemingly fearful, constantly stammering his responses when Diddy asked why he seemed distant from him. In the most recent video, when they hugged goodbye, you could see Diddy continuously touching and groping Justin while he kept his head down, not daring to lift his head or look into the other person's eyes. Many comments suggested that Diddy was checking if Justin was wearing a wire, or this could be a psychological manipulation tactic, but most expressed concern because his body language resembled that of someone who had been abused. However, in May 2025, Justin's representatives officially denied Justin is not among the victims. Shifting attention away from those who were actually harmed will prevent them from receiving justice. Besides Justin, many stars like Usher, Diddy's close friend, were also put under scrutiny. Usher once deleted all his tweets on platform X when the FTC dug up bad news, raising suspicions about covering up information. But there is still no concrete evidence. Other big names have also appeared at Diddy's parties, sitting next to him, laughing and talking with him, but no one knows exactly what they witnessed. In Hollywood, silence is sometimes not because they don't know, but because they know too well. Yet to protect their own safety under the oppression of power, they chose to remain silent. An overall picture of crime gradually emerges with horrifying dark elements, physical and psychological abuse, where victims were beaten, threatened, and psychologically controlled in sophisticated ways. Sexual coercion and group sex, where any refusal had to be paid for with threats and force. The use of addictive substances and sedatives not only clouded victims' reasoning but also turned them into hostages, completely dependent. Recording private videos and threatening to make them public as a sophisticated manipulation tool to maintain fear. And finally, abuse of power when money, fame and authority were used as weapons for coercion. All this evidence, from CCTV footage capturing Cassie being abused, direct testimonies from famous victims, to images and videos from parties, combined to create an undeniable network of crimes spanning many years, like a thick black fog covering the entertainment industry. In that picture, Diddy's image emerges clearly, cold, indifferent, confident in power, treating the manipulation and coercion of artists as his own personal game. On the outside, he still radiated the brilliant glow of money and fame, but hidden behind was a sophisticated network of oppression where both the famous and those just stepping into the entertainment industry could not escape the grip of power. Each victim's story, from Cassie, Karuechi, Danielle to Tinashe, all ring out like a warning. Fame, power and money are not always guiding lights. Sometimes they become the dark shadows that pave the way for crimes that are secretive, calculated and cruel. After accusations from victims were made public, the official investigation into Diddy was strongly pushed forward. Particularly after videos and direct evidence from sex parties and victim testimonies were brought to light, police began taking decisive action. Indelible traces and clues were gradually exploited and connected, painting a comprehensive picture of the criminal network that Diddy had built over many years. On March 25, 2024, when all suspicions about Diddy's behavior had become undeniable accusations, FBI agents and Homeland Security conducted simultaneous raids on Diddy's mansions in Los Angeles and Miami. These raids attracted major media attention and exposed the alleged wrongdoings. When the investigation team broke into Diddy's mansion, they discovered evidence rarely seen in similar criminal cases. Thousands of bottles of baby oil stacked in blocks in storage areas, their sweet scent haunting the entire space. Drug bags mixed among decorative drawer items, AR-15 rifles, some with serial numbers removed, neatly stored in safes. Over 700 adult toys, and most frightening, hard drives and memory cards filled with date symbols, traces of hundreds of hours of recordings from freak-off sessions that Diddy organized. Each video captured scenes that victims confirmed they never wanted to remember again. Inside were dim lights, pounding music, and the emotionless face of someone standing outside, observing. This evidence was not just physical clues, but clear traces of sexual violence and psychological manipulation that Diddy had carried out for many years. If the physical evidence was the tip of the iceberg, the submerged part was hidden in confiscated devices, phones, tablets, laptops, and social media accounts. When messages were recovered, the picture began to become clear. There were brief exchanges. Tonight, 10 p.m., new person, make sure to bring white powder. There were messages that were direct threats. You know what will happen if you don't come. Emails contained guest lists, categorized as VIP, newcomers, and private room. Each name within was a potential story, a secret, locked tight. Right after Cassie's testimony, the courtroom was further shaken when famous rapper Kid Cudi stepped up to the witness stand. As Cassie's boyfriend after she left her relationship with Diddy, Kid Cudi admitted that he hated every second of having to sit in the witness chair, but still chose to appear to support Cassie and those who dared to speak out. He recounted that during the time he and Cassie were dating, Diddy had found every way to retaliate and send threatening messages. The climax was when his Porsche was destroyed by a gasoline bomb right in his private garage. Kid Cudi affirmed that he had no other enemies and all signs pointed to the same person. He described the feeling of being constantly threatened, strange phone calls, surveillance looks at public events, and a suffocating atmosphere surrounding him.
Diddy wanted me to know that he could reach anyone, any time, and wouldn't hesitate to do so if anyone dared to oppose him.
Kid Cudi said, his cold gaze directed toward the defendant. This testimony not only clarified the extent of Diddy's power and brutality, but also proved that he was ready to use violence to punish anyone who stepped out of his control. Gradually, the investigation had gathered testimonies from victims, including famous people in the entertainment industry, those who had been manipulated by Diddy for many years. Victims began appearing in interrogation rooms one by one. Karueche Tran described the atmosphere of the parties, not parties, prison without walls. Danielle Harrington told about pills that made her lose consciousness and wake up in strange rooms. A former assistant trembled while describing how Diddy used cameras to keep everyone under control. We lived under an eye that never blinked. This was not just the story of an individual's downfall, but a network of power extending beyond the music industry. As the indictment files grew thicker each day, unexpected information leaked. Diddy had once sought to approach high-level political figures, including those who had sat in the most powerful positions in America. A pardon letter sent to a former president was found in his personal files. In it, the tone was pleading, mixed with the confidence of someone who believed they had enough connections to escape punishment. This information spread quickly, and public opinion began asking questions. If an entertainment mogul could sit at the same table with lawmakers, who could be sure that criminal acts hadn't been covered up for many years? Investigators also began looking back at mysterious deaths from years past. Kim Porter, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, suddenly died with the official cause being pneumonia. The notorious B.I.G., his close friend and also a key artist of Bad Boy Records, was assassinated on the streets of Los Angeles. Tupac Shakur, the legendary American rapper, was shot multiple times in a shooting while sitting in a car in Las Vegas, Nevada. These cases, once considered unrelated, were now placed in a new context. No one dared confirm the connection, but the coincidence of timing, personal relationships, and financial interests made the questions impossible to dismiss. Not only stars and previous witnesses, but some of Diddy's close associates also began to speak out. Particularly, a new accusation involving Christian Combs, Diddy's son, was raised when he was accused of sexually assaulting a staff member during a yacht trip. Along with that, 120 victims came forward, accusing Diddy of power abuse and sexual crimes. In particular, among the accusers, as many as 25 were minors who were pressured to take part in inappropriate gatherings, manipulated, and forced to comply with Diddy's troubling demands. One group of these victims cooperated with Gloria Allred, a famous lawyer, to represent over 120 people accusing Diddy. The appearance of Allred, a long-time victim rights advocate, made the case even more serious. With her help, victims had the opportunity to file accusations and stand up against Diddy, providing detailed testimonies about the cruel acts they had to endure. After witnesses like Cassie Ventura and Diddy's former assistant began sharing what they had experienced, the words of Gloria Allred, the lawyer representing the victims, further clarified the seriousness of the case. Gloria Allred stood before the court, looked at the jury, and said,
"This is not just a case of an individual, but a symbol of power abuse in the entertainment industry. Sean Diddy Combs exploited his fame and power to manipulate and strip away the freedom of artists whom he considered pawns in his power game. These victims were not only physically harmed, but also mentally they were forced to participate in acts they never desired. Those who stand up today are heroes in the fight against manipulation and violence."
In 2025, Clayton Howard, a man who once had contact with Diddy and Cassie, filed a lawsuit accusing the mogul and Cassie of participating in a human trafficking network. Howard claimed he was forced into sexual work, tortured, filmed without consent, and even infected with sexually transmitted diseases during 2009 to 2017. This lawsuit revealed that the network's scope was broader than the public had ever thought. The emergence of this victim group made the case more shocking than ever, creating a strong wave of public outrage while raising questions about the system's level of protection for the vulnerable and the power that Diddy had abused for many years. After months of tense investigation and a series of horrifying accusations, the prosecution process moved to the trial phase. However, before the official verdict was announced, an important turning point occurred in September 2024. That morning, amid the bustling sounds of New York City, ambulance sirens blended with the familiar sounds of the streets. But on the high floor of a luxury hotel, things were unfolding very differently. A special task force stepped out of the elevator, black bulletproof vests gleaming, eyes cold as steel. The door opened, and Sean Diddy Combs was subdued in just seconds. No resistance, no screaming, he just stood there, hands cuffed behind his back, eyes quickly scanning the flashing camera lenses. Among the crowd, some were stunned, others satisfied. But everyone knew. This was the moment marking the collapse of an icon. On May 5th, 2025, the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York opened the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The courtroom was packed with reporters, lawyers, and witnesses. The atmosphere was thick with tension as serious charges were read aloud.
Racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution.
After nearly 2 months of trial and 3 days of jury deliberation, the court ruled not guilty on charges of racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking. guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution under the Mann Act. Each charge carried a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, totaling up to 20 years if served consecutively. The judge denied bail and he was held in custody until the official sentencing scheduled for October 3rd, 2025. While this verdict was not the maximum sentence many had hoped for, it was still a heavy blow to Diddy's career and reputation. The court also required him to pay compensation in parallel civil lawsuits, including Cassie Ventura's case. Immediately after the verdict was announced, global public opinion erupted. Media outlets uniformly reported the news, with many fierce reactions dominating all media platforms. People couldn't believe that an icon in the music industry could commit such terrible acts. The victims had lived in darkness for too long, but finally they received recognition. Cassie Ventura, who had previously sued Diddy, was no longer anonymous in the fight against power abuse. Other victims like Karrueche Tran, Danielle Harrington, and Tinashe were all recognized as heroes in the battle for justice, though they had to endure psychological and physical abuse for a long time. Diddy's family, though not speaking publicly, could not hide their shame. Some family members refused to speak out, while others stepped forward to support the victims, expressing regret about his actions. The media not only evaluated Diddy's musical career, but also raised a major question about those who had remained silent before his criminal acts. They questioned whether Hollywood had been too silent about these behaviors, and whether those in power should accept this silence. The court's verdict was not only a shock to Diddy, but also a major turning point for the entertainment industry. For many years, Hollywood and global entertainment industries had been criticized for the power that celebrities could abuse, especially in sexual abuse and manipulation of artists. Although Diddy might continue his music career, his image was no longer recognized. The brands he built, like Sean John or DeLeon, were boycotted, and Bad Boy Records, the company he founded, could hardly survive under the light of these scandals. Diddy faced the risk of losing everything: assets, power, and even the admiration he had worked hard to build over many years. The entertainment community no longer saw him as an influential creator, but as a shattered monument, a warning about power manipulation in the dark industry. When everything had settled and Diddy finally faced criminal sentencing, a legal question still needed consideration. Would the maximum sentence of 20 years under the Mann Act be sufficient to pay for the cruel acts he had committed? In a case where power and money could manipulate many things, the question of fairness remained unanswered. Everything was nearing its end. After the verdict on July 2nd, 2025, Diddy was held in custody awaiting sentencing on October 3rd, 2025. Many celebrities expressed shock, including Jennifer Lopez, who had once been close to Diddy.
The entertainment industry has always had disturbing stories, but what Diddy was accused of and convicted for exceeded my expectations. This is not just an individual case, but a warning about protecting artists and vulnerable people in this industry.
When I read about this case, I couldn't help feeling haunted by the cruelty one person could inflict, even when possessing power and money. Diddy's story made me feel deep fear about what could happen when power is abused and when vulnerable people are pushed into a world they cannot escape. Though he was a creator and leader in the industry, an unavoidable darkness always lurked deep within those glittering power relationships. But I also felt frustrated by the silence of many around him, those who knew well about Diddy's terrible acts, yet chose to stand aside. How many people could see but not act? Diddy's power was built not only on musical talent, but also on a system where crimes could be hidden, where those in power never had to take responsibility for wrongdoing. Diddy's story is not just the story of a music star, but of power and darkness. It is a reminder that no one is immune to power abuse, and no one can continue remaining silent when witnessing crimes. We have gone through a legal process with many serious developments where Sean Diddy Combs, the bad boy records mogul, was pulled from the heights of power to face the law. Accusations of sexual abuse, psychological manipulation, and forced participation in sex parties were brought to light through videos, messages, and testimonies from famous victims. On July 2nd, 2025, Diddy was found guilty on 2 charges under the Mann Act, facing a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Although the official sentence has not yet been pronounced, many still question, has that sentence fully met the requirements of justice? Will Diddy truly have to pay the price for his cruel actions? And will the victims be able to find peace again after the psychological and physical wounds he inflicted? Does this case open an opportunity for victims in the entertainment industry specifically, and society in general, to boldly stand up and speak out against wrongdoings and injustices they have long endured? Questions about the possibility of similar undiscovered cases existing. What do you think about this case? Is the sentence for Diddy truly fair for what he caused? And in a system where power and money can always hide crimes, can victims find justice? Please share your opinions in the comments below. Each response is not only an individual voice, but also contributes to creating a community that sees social problems more clearly. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit like if you find this story meaningful, and turn on notifications so you don't miss upcoming videos about shocking cases and social issues being brought to light. Thank you for watching the video, and see you in the next